We're looking at a Brother needle and a Toyota needle. Note that if I line up the needle butts, they're just the same. And the hooks are so close as to be really hard to spot any difference. The only difference is the tiniest length difference. Can you see that? The longer of the two is the Toyota needle. And we're going to work on the theory that's been put forward that the Brother needle, the shorter one which is on top, may work in the Toyota knitting machine. And the reason that I am very hopeful is the overall similarity plus the height of the needle butt, and that of course is what goes through the needle path, and the fact that from the hook to the butt we get the same distance. If we didn't, I don't see how the needle would end up in a position to catch the yarn correctly. Okay, here we are doing the beginning test. This needle, third from the right, is the last real Toyota needle. These two are Brother needles. Now I've taken off the sinker plate so we can see if they respond normally. And for stockinette, which is where my settings are, they obviously do. That should be helpful. Let's come over here and change it to tuck and set the card. My concern is, will they respond to the patterning device? They're looking as though they will. Here's what I discovered. Since they are all the same exact length from needle shank to tip, I don't have them perfectly lined up, but they are. However, the Toyota needles are slightly longer on the part that extends behind the shank, and I was fearful that that might affect patterning. But at least for a dry run, it does not. Let's move on. Here we are. We're knitting stockinette. Perfectly successful. I can't tell any difference. No lagging or noise or hesitation or clacking or feelings of stiffness, any of the things you might concern yourself with. So let's move on. Here we're tucking. The fabric is just what you would hope for, no mistakes at all. Changing over to slip, otherwise known by Toyota knitters as empty. This appears to be good news. We got slipped bars everywhere we should. I'm using this very, very simple tuck card, card, period, for tuck and everything else, because it makes it very easy to spot errors, and I don't see any errors. Using the same card, I'm knitting Fair Isle. There's a C on the dial for colored knitting. Let's do a little bit more of it. That's what we're supposed to be getting. Well, this is joyful news. I have not yet done lace. That's for tomorrow. My guess is, though, that these needles will not have any trouble transferring because they are borrowed from my Brother 930, and that also does lace just fine. So my concern was if the needles are too stiff, they will not transfer as they're supposed to, like that. We still don't know what the Toyota lace carriages requires them to do in terms of timing and flexibility by comparison with that of the Brother. But it looks very hopeful indeed. And for everything but lace, it's obviously just fine. Lace next. For the next stage of the test, I put 10 Brother needles in over here, plus one more in here. And they still knitted the lace just fine. So this is good news, but there is some bad news. I found out what happens because of that business of the slightly shorter brother needles. When we pull them all the way forward and attempt to knit back from hold, which is a useful and ordinary behavior, there they are forward. They did it that time, but they don't always do it. Try again. Now it won't go. And I have figured out that it's because back in there, this needle has come out of its channel. I can feel it, and I have to push it down a little to push it back in. So if, like me, you like the ability to knit back from hold all the way out, this is a little bit problematic. It'll knit back from here. And why it will occasionally do it, I can only surmise. But my suspicion is sometimes they just happen to stay aligned with the slot they should be going into back underneath there. Once I get these all pressed in a little bit and I can feel them sliding into their slots, there we go. They should now knit back from this position. Let's see. Yes. I've got a bent one here. It's trying to tuck stitches, but that's neither here nor there as far as this experiment goes. So, bottom line, brother needles work a whole lot better than no needles, and they will perform all the major knitting functions on the Toyota 950, but they are not absolutely perfect, and they don't reliably knit back from hold.